Part 2, Chapter 39, The Queen of May Wears Combat Boots. Pick up where we left off. What cracked Carlisle's demeanor wasn't when they exchanged their personal vows, but when presented as a couple, they sat side by side and played a duet they'd created for this day. When Laurel's tiny white shoe started tapping on Colby's boot, and he sidled closer, that moment broke Carlisle like winter thunder. Catherine Lascalle drew her close for the big, shaking explosion. Bobby Montgomery grasped his daughter's hand, as though to siphon her distress, and his cheeks glistened too. The wedding guests moved around the sumptuous setting of jaunty event tents and Evelynton's terraces as though in a hyper-real dream. After the formal ceremony, an ad hoc band collected under the reception tent to serenade the coalescing revelers. But Carlisle didn't want to get in front of people right then or much talk to anybody. The elf, now married, and her high tree family around, and the live wires scattered, and Bruce maimed, and Jean gone, and she galumphing across the pristine lawns. One fellow interested her because of his apparent inability to not look her direction. Dark-bearded, wavy-haired, and wearing tortoiseshell-framed glasses, a linen suit with white shoes, and sloppy blue pocket kerchief that matched a bold, knotted cravat. Carlisle judged him to reach about her shoulder. They'd played eyes for a part of the afternoon. Then she lost him, amid the considerable gathering. She stood alone off to the side to take in the magnificent view while enjoying the indulgence of a Pall Mall. Fleets of giant white clouds passed, and their silhouette counterparts floated across the immaculate deep green lawns that sloped toward the twinkling water. "Pardon me, my Queen of May," a low, graveled voice introduced, "but may I beseech from thee a certain beneficence for one thine sticks of nicotine?" Carlisle turned to see the cravat and beard boy. He performed a deep court bow. She chuckled smoke. "You ask that way, my loyal subject, and what kind of queen would we be to refuse you? Ah, a moment." The sovereign rummaged in the unfamiliar purse that, despite its inconspicuous size, somehow collected a frustrating assortment that included makeup refreshers, brushes, Band-Aids, her wallet and fallen change, an almost finished Pall Mall pack, and the Zippo. She shook the crinkled pack and slid one out using her lips and handed him the other. The May Queen then gave an impressive Zippo demonstration that traveled the lighter up and down between her fingers like a sewing bobbin, until she clutched, caused its momentary disappearance. Then the Zippo returned to ignite the petitioner's cigarette. "My," he drew an appreciative puff. She said, "Hope we're not encouraging a habit thou art trying to quit. Think of this act of generosity, if I may be so bold," he pressed a hand to his chest, "as lessening your majesty's temptation." "In that case, have another for luck." He placed the cigarette she dropped in his palm behind his ear, where he also wore a sprig of buttercups. Carlisle nodded, smoked, and asked him which side of the occasion he was on. That, he replied, seemed a bit too territorial for nuptials. Everybody's got a side, groom or bride. "Call me a lost relation." His movie trailer announcer voice both enhanced and parodied his description. "I've known Laurel since, well, she was even smaller than now." "Well, what, about 2 years ago?" "My God, you're the real father of her child." He made a small smile inside the beard. and behind the sunglasses. Oh, no, no. There would have been a huge scandal if that indeed proved the truth. That child is their entire making. Listen, since you seem to know so much, answer me this. She crossed her arms. What is this reception coming from? Where is it coming from? I don't get it. They live in mud huts. The expense or the idea? Well, the idea is hers, sure. Mixture, though, of what she dreamt and the high tree communal traditions. He gave a short chuckle. You know, Gary's got some patents. Patents? Back in the 70s, he was still in college, and he thought of a different kind of latch release for the sliding windows and store windows. The corporate builders and the hardware stores bought it big time. He finished the cigarette, but did not toss it. He also did a kind of water-saving flapper for toilets. But he lives in a tent. Well, those inventions let him and Irene raise 3 children there, and it's not a tent. The reception band's calling of mandolin and banjos wafted on the breeze, sounded like Carey Street Ramble. They're playing my song. I've still got some obligations this afternoon. You playing more? Yeah. She lifted the gown to begin the descent. Carlisle Montgomery? She paused between steps. You stop the world. Carlisle over one shoulder. You got brown eyes because you're full of bullshit. I'm wearing sunglasses. She smirked. You didn't have them on all day. He dropped the sunglasses inside his jacket and lifted a hand toward her. Come, tarry with me in yonder fairy glade. Shh, you are full of it. His hand remained offered between them until Carlisle brought her fingertips to his. To a roar of mocking approval, Carlisle arrived at the bandstand on quivery legs, hair tousled, bits of tree bark speckling her exposed shoulder blade and down her gown's back, where Cassie Sorensen, wearing a theatrical summer hat the size of a flying saucer, informed her of a little rip between the layers of tulle. She leaned toward Carlisle's ear. Fall down, go boom. Manner of speaking. Cassie covered her mouth to cackle. Carlisle asked Dave Travers whether he wanted to start a band wearing formal clothes and call it the wedding party. Dave didn't think it wise due to the cost of cleaning bills from thrown beers and fruit. She supposed they needed to play some music until the toasts and all started when a jazz band with real musicians took up the task of entertainment. They launched into an old Travers tune that Carlisle remembered from Carey Street Cafe days before he got on the stage. She joined in remembering the signature but not a title. Within the shade thrown across the thick grass, the 3 sisters, Floral, Heather, and Laurel, held hands and swung each other, dancing in a merry circle as the gathered high tree people clapped in rhythm. Carlisle peered toward the woods in expectation of seeing him come down the hill. And that was that.